Good morning, friends, and welcome to a Hasty Podcast. I'm your commander, Weston Hasty, and this is a Hasty Podcast where we talk about all kinds of things that interest me at any given time, at any given moment of whenever I happen to be recording this, whatever I happen to be thinking about. And today, we'll be talking about a little bit of video games. Just a little bit. I promise you it will be nothing that involves news or new video games in general, just what I've been playing lately and that I'm pretty excited about. But welcome to a Hasty Podcast. This is sort of it sounds silly to say this is a personality-driven podcast because I don't consider myself that much of a personality per se, but I did literally name this podcast after myself. So I guess if you're listening to this, I hope you're ready to listen to this guy right here. But last episode we discussed we didn't really discuss seems like such a serious way to say we talked about Pride Month. I kind of like officially revealed myself to be a member of the How does one say, this is all still very new to me, a member of the LGBTQIA plus community or whatever the heck, but I didn't know it. I didn't know what Pride Month was. I didn't know what I was. I didn't know a lot of things that took me all my life to discover about myself. And if that sounds like something you're very curious about and want to hear about in my sort of journey through learning what that kind of meant to me, you can check out the last episode. A Hasty Podcast, episode 29 came out last time. Go check that out. You can listen to me anywhere. If you're listening to me on a thing, you can listen to that episode on that thing as well. I'm available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Google Podcasts. I'm around. But that's the last episode. This episode, I'm actually enjoying some coffee. I'm not quite awake yet. I managed to sleep in a little bit today. I don't work today. Even though I am recording this on a Monday, I do not work this Monday. Why do I not work this Monday? I don't know, man. I don't make the schedule. I just follow it. I don't know, man. I don't make it. So good to be drinking coffee. I didn't do that last episode. Remember how we used to do that every morning, right? Or to have a cup of joe for this podcast. Welcome to episode 30. We're coming along quite smoothly. No, not smoothly at all. We've only rebooted the podcast twice already and altered the format a couple of times. But we're 20 episodes away from the big 50, and I feel like 50. This is completely unrelated to video games, I know, but I'm just kind of rambling right now. Episode 50. What was it? The first time I had a YouTube channel, the Magic Man Mo YouTube channel. I don't think I did a celebration for 50 videos. I think I did like a 50 subscriber celebration, and it feels so funny because what a weird number 50 is. It's not 100, right? Like 100. I think we all have this innate understanding that chunking things by base tens is natural. So, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, etc. Base tens makes sense. But I don't know why 50 felt like a good first milestone for that channel way back in the day. This was a long, long time ago. And to that end, I still feel like I should do something special for 50 episodes here on the podcast. I don't know what. I have 20 whole episodes to decide. So I shouldn't really worry about it, but I just wanted to throw that out there that, oh my goodness, I've done 30 of these. By the time you're listening to this, I will have done 30 of these. But that's neither here nor there. You guys want to listen to me talk about video games. What video game? Specifically, here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about a little old game that came out that came out in 2016. A little old game that came out in 2016 called XCOM 2. What was the subtitle? Did it have a subtitle? Did XCOM 2 have it? The expansion pack, just to clarify, XCOM 2 War of the Chosen was the expansion pack. What was the freaking name of the base game? Just XCOM 2? I think it was just XCOM 2. I've decided it is just XCOM 2. Why am I talking about that today? I got this game in like 2016 when it came out because I originally played I want to say the original game, but that's kind of a misnomer because there have been a lot of XCOM games, but they rebooted the series in 2012 with just the game XCOM Enemy Unknown. And I don't think I got it right away, but I got it at some point. I don't remember what year it was or when I actually picked it up for sure. I got that game and fell in love with tactics-based gameplay. But I think that's what you call it. It's like a tactics. The word tactics is very difficult for me this morning. Tactics-based like strategy game. And for those of you that don't know what that means, basically, it's like turn-based and like the game's laid out kind of board game style or tabletop style, right? Where you move people, spaces or movement or whatever, and every character has different abilities and that kind of thing. And you take turns with between your characters and the enemy AI in every scenario of the game. So XCOM is about humanity rising up to defend itself against the aliens. The aliens have invaded. It happened. I don't remember what XCOM stands for. I think it's like extraterrestrial combat or whatever. I think that's what it stands for. You're a task force armed with the Earth's resources to combat the alien menace, basically. You play as the commander, who's in charge of making all the decisions, which is why the tactics-based strategy makes perfect sense. You're not really playing as any of the soldiers in the game. You're just telling them what to do because you're the commander, like at home, not at home, but like in the war room, like making all the decisions. So I fell in love with that game. I loved the turn-based combat. I loved the theme, especially in the in XCOM Enemy Unknown and its expansion, XCOM Enemy Within, which was really cool because then you also had to fight other humans that were trying to either work with the aliens or just for some reason were working against you. Really good expansion. I love that game. I love the theme. I thought it was very serious. It kind of took the alien combat scenario very seriously, but in a way that was very fun. It was very serious in the sense that, like, this isn't just goofy, zany, zapping aliens, ha ha ha. It was very serious, like, oh my gosh, the alien menace is here, and like this is crucial. Like, we're losing, right? But it was also very fun because, you know, the different alien species that you fought were all kind of weird, all had kind of weird abilities. The different characters in the game, Dr. Valen is this sort of like Russian science, like kind of Russian stereotype scientist who's like, was she Russian or German? German. Why did I say Russian? Don't know. German scientist who's like kind of zany or whatever, and Engineer Shen is just kind of this down to earth, cool old guy. I don't know. I like the characters. Central is Officer Bradford. Central is like your kind of main talking point who kind of fills you in on what's going on. So there's these characters involved, and they're fun, and the aliens are fun, and the gameplay is very what's the word I'm looking for? This isn't the word I was looking for, but I'll say engrossing. It really brings you in. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the series. Played the XCOM 1 Enemy Unknown all the way through. Got the expansion pack, Enemy Within, played it all the way through. And then comes 2016, XCOM 2 releases, and I'm like, heck yes, I want to play this game. And I played it for a little bit and stopped. I don't know why. XCOM 2 was a lot of fun then for me. I just don't know why I stopped playing. I don't know if it was timing where I didn't have as much time to put into that game as I did the first for some reason, or if it was just me playing other games at the time. I don't really remember. This was 5 years ago this game came out. 5 years ago this game came out. And I stopped playing it until 2017 comes around and they released the expansion pack, War of the Chosen. And I thought, you know what? This is excellent. This is an excellent excuse for me to get the expansion pack and play this game some more again. Because I did enjoy XCOM 2, even though I never beat it. I got the expansion pack, and it changed a lot of things about the base game. Now, like I said, I didn't beat the base game, so I'm not entirely sure how some of the like mid and end game stuff was changed. I don't think it was a lot. The expansion pack introduced some new factions to the game, and it introduced like bosses to the game. Yeah, basically. So much in the same way the original game was about you combating the alien menace. So XCOM 1 and its expansion were about you fending off the alien invasion. In XCOM 2, the canon is that you failed the first game. There's a very specific mission in the first game that if you've ever played the first game, you know what I'm talking about, where it hits you really hard. There's a specific mission that hits you really hard, and a lot of people, according to, who made this game? Firaxis? Firaxis, that's right. Firaxis collected a bunch of data and realized, oh yeah, most players fail this mission. So what if, in the sequel, we just say that's actually what happened? That you, the commander, failed on that mission, the aliens won, took over the planet. Now in XCOM 2, you play a resistance force, the remnants of the old XCOM team. They go and save you because the commander, you've been captured and kidnapped and whatever. The old XCOM, years later, manages to break you free, and now you play as a resistance faction working against the aliens who currently run the planet, and you're trying to take back the planet for humanity. The expansion pack, it's the same story, but it introduces some new bosses. The aliens are led by this group called the Elders, and the expansion pack introduces the Chosen, which are like the children of the Elders, these sort of genetically modified alien offshoot species with crazy abilities. And in the expansion pack, they harass you throughout your missions, basically. Like, they control different regions of the planet, and as you travel around the planet, there's a chance that the Chosen will show up and harass you. And they seem to be like immortal. If you beat them, they just kind of like teleport out, and they're like, nope, we're out, we'll fight again another time. And you have to like try to figure out where their bases are and figure out like how can we defeat them permanently, keep them down, keep them from coming back over and over and over again. And it's really fun. I love the antagonism that the Chosen brought to the game. And more personality, something that, like, with more characters, it introduces more personality. I really loved listening to them just, like, threaten me over, like, intercoms or over, like, communications and that kind of thing. Like, we're gonna get you or whatever. I don't know. It just felt really antagonistic and really kept the personality up and the pace up. As well as there was some other stuff introduced. I don't remember if it was part of the expansion pack or just some other DLC that I also got that introduced different ways to play as a mech suit, basically. And what was the Dr. Valen DLC where Dr. Valen, turns out she survived the first game and went off and made a bunch of experimental alien leaders, basically, like with super powerful abilities before she accidentally got herself killed or something and went missing. And now there's these other three powerful alien bosses roaming the planet doing whatever, which is basically a beefed up version of for those of you familiar, a berserker, what was the snake one even called? They were tall, they were thin men in the first game. What were the snakes? What were the serpents called in the second game? I just played this game. I don't remember. And then, of course, a beefed up Archon. But they antagonize you as well. So basically, after the DLCs and the expansion pack, you have 6 different new bosses throughout all your missions that could, like, harass you. And it was a lot of fun. I never beat it. I didn't beat it. I've sunk hundreds of hours into this game. Actually, if I pull up my Steam right now, it'll just take me a moment. If I pull up my Steam right now, I've sunk like 240 hours into this game. Maybe more if I played it offline and it didn't record. And I never beat it. I would just play it until about a little past mid-game. Because you research these technologies to upgrade your weapons, your armor, your abilities, different items you can use, your facility. You play in this giant scavenged alien spaceship, basically, and you've turned it into your base, and it's mobile, so you can keep it on the move so you don't get captured by the aliens, right? And you can upgrade your facilities to have more either research facilities, a workshop, a training center, that kind of thing. There are different things you can put in there to help you along. And you collect supplies along the way, as well as a number of other resources that you need to build alien technology yourself so that you can fight the aliens better. So you start with like basic ballistic weapons. By the time you get to the end of the game, you've got these like powerful plasma weapons, right, that the aliens use, powered by Illyrium crystals and that kind of thing. So it's really cool. I would get about midway through the game, I get a bit past like magnetic weapons, which are like, you know, like rail guns and stuff, and I'd get a bit past the second tier of armor. So, and because there's about 3 tiers, and it's not a lot. There's not a lot there, but every time you do unlock a new thing, it's like a big deal. It's a big thing when you unlock the next thing, and you're like, holy cow, this changes the game. So while there's not a ton of different tiers and technologies and stuff, it takes you a while to unlock them, and when you unlock them, it's a big upgrade. And you need it too, because XCOM 2 pulls no punches. Compared to XCOM 1, XCOM 2 is so much more difficult. It does not hold your hand at all. It really throws you in. The aliens are tough. If you know what you're doing in XCOM 2, and you know what everybody does, and you're someone who really likes strategy games, you can play it on a harder difficulty and maybe be fine, right? No problems there. But if you're kind of like, just kind of a casual player, or you enjoy the series, or you're new to the series, XCOM 2 is a lot harder than if you're new to the series and you play XCOM 1. So those upgrades really necessary. I like playing the game in Iron Man mode, where if you fail, that's just it, right? There's no save scumming. You can't just reload a save or whatever. If people die, you're just without them, that kind of thing. I love playing Iron Man mode, and I think that's the core reason why once the expansion pack came out, I never beat the game, because I would play on like a hard difficulty on Iron Man. I'm like, I'm gonna go hard on this. I want no hand holding whatsoever. And it's tough. It's real tough. It can be really harrowing when you lose like your top tier soldiers to just some fluke mid mission, because one of your soldiers got like mind controlled and turned on your squad and shot your best soldier in the face, and you went down, and now half your party's down, and you're outnumbered by aliens, and you're just trying to escape, and the mission timer is ticking down, and reinforcements are coming in, and it's really intense. I really enjoy the game. And on the harder difficulties, it can be really brutal and unforgiving. Lately, within the span of, like, in the last month, because I didn't play it, like, every night or anything like that, but within the, like, last month, I decided I wanted to boot this game up again. Once and for all, I'm going to play it on a lower difficulty, no Iron Man, I can save scum all that I want. Let's just finally put this game to rest and beat it so that I know what's going on in the story. Which I really, really wanted to do, because I've played XCOM Chimera Squad, which was the spin-off game that Firaxis came out with like a year ago-ish. I think it was about a year ago. I don't remember what month it came out. Last year it came out sometime, where you play as like a police task force in the XCOM universe. And in that timeline, that takes place after the events of XCOM 2. So you might imagine that as someone who never beat XCOM 2, playing Chimera Squad, I had a few questions about how XCOM 2 ends. And I'm not going to spoil it too much here, so don't worry about that. If you are interested in picking up XCOM 2, I absolutely recommend it. Even today, the game's 5 years old, I still recommend it. I still kind of recommend XCOM 1 as well, but it has aged a bit. So if you pick it up, it's a little clunky around the edges there, but if you're interested, I still recommend it, because I think it's just a really fun theme, and I think it's a really fun like gameplay wise. So I definitely still recommend XCOM Enemy Unknown and Enemy Within, and then XCOM 2 and XCOM 2 War of the Chosen. And I do recommend Chimera Squad, but Chimera Squad's a very different feel than XCOM 2. I won't go into that too much, but XCOM 2 I still definitely recommend. And I went into it and I'm like, I'm going to beat this. And I did. Every time something went like horribly wrong in a mission that I thought was unfair to go horribly wrong, you know, like, it's fair in the sense that the game's supposed to catch you by surprise sometimes. But if I ever made like a horribly stupid mistake, like walking next to a car that was about to explode and then accidentally blowing up one of my soldiers because I just forgot the car was on fire or something like that, or if something went like just brutally insane where like I'm doing great, and then one character takes like a critical hit and gets one shot killed. I was like, you know what? Listen, sometimes that's the way it goes. That's XCOM, baby. But I in this game, in this playthrough, I was like, you know what? If I ever get a soldier one shot killed, I'm just gonna restart the not the level, the turn, because you can do that if you have autosave turned on. You can restart the turn if you want. I'm just gonna restart the turn, right? If anything is just that stupid that I have no chance to recover from using my own skills, it's just the way it happens. I'll just restart the turn. That way, I didn't lose too many soldiers. I got to upgrade them really powerful. By the time I get to the end of the game, I had some very powerful units. The game had actually become too easy. The game became ridiculously easy because I had some very high-level soldiers. I had very high-level research. Because I wasn't failing missions, I had tons of supplies and intel and resources. The game became too easy. The game's not really supposed to be played that way, but I was having a lot of fun anyway. And again, remembering that the purpose of this wasn't actually to challenge myself. The purpose of this playthrough was just to finally lay this game to rest. A game that I had already been enjoying here and there, off and on again for the last 5 years. I wasn't trying to challenge myself. I just wanted to beat the game. So I didn't feel bad about it, but certainly 5 years ago when I'd been playing the game on hard difficulties and trying to challenge myself, failing missions, losing soldiers, it was a lot of fun then too, but it was very challenging. So what I wanted from it this time was very different from what I wanted out of it in the past, which I think is important for people that play games on hard difficulties. If you're someone like me that likes to play games on hard difficulties, but you don't ever get the chance to beat them, sometimes it's okay. It's okay to lower that difficulty and just say, you know what? What I want out of this game now isn't what I wanted out of the game before. Before I wanted a challenge. Now I just want to finally put it down. I just want to finally lay it to rest. I want to finally beat it. I want to finally experience whatever story the game might have, that kind of thing. And that's okay. That is absolutely okay. And that's what I did with XCOM 2. So that's why I'm talking about XCOM 2. I finally beat it, and the ending is hilarious. So you start the game, talking about the theme a little bit here. It's very serious. You're a resistance faction. The aliens won. Everyone's kind of down and glum about how the aliens have won, basically. And the situation is dire. But there's hope. There's hope because the resistance just freed you. You're the commander, right? They freed you. They brought you back. You've been experimented on in some way that people don't understand. You've been under extreme psionic pressure, actually working with the aliens against your will, processing data with your ginormo galaxy brain. But now that they've freed you, you can use that ginormo galaxy brain to help the resistance instead of the aliens. So there's this glimmer of hope now that, yay, the commander is back. But other than that, it's a very very harrowing experience in the beginning until you start to build up more hope and build up your resistance, and people are like, oh, maybe we have a chance. By the time you get to the end of the game, I'm not going to spoil the thing that happens, because when it happened, I was like, really? Is this what we're doing? And then I had some suspicions about how the game would end that turned out not to be true, but I'm not going to say what they are, because if you play the game, I want you to do that yourself. But it's funny because by the time you get to the end of the game, something about the feeling of the game kind of dramatically shifts away from that harrowing experience to there's a cutscene at the end. I'm not going to explain it, so you won't know what I'm talking about. But there's a cutscene at the end that is like an anime battle between I don't even want to say who it's between, but between the elder gods. Because in this game, everybody kind of thinks the elders are gods because they kind of wield godlike psionic powers in the universe. So you're fighting the elder gods in this anime battle to end the game, right? To get them kicked off the planet, basically. There's an anime battle that takes place at the end. I'm like, what is happening? What did this game turn into right at the last minute? And it was pretty funny. And then I don't know how the game is different without the expansion pack, because then since I had the expansion pack, that introduced some other factions in the game as well, including the Templars, the help me out, the Reapers, and the Skirmishers. There's these 3 different factions. They all have crazy abilities. They all have their own resistance factions besides your own that they'd been trying to work in tandem against the aliens as well. And they all have these sort of ending cutscenes as well that kind of gives you an idea of how maybe their factions go forward now that the aliens have been beaten. And the skirmishers are like, okay, we've been living out in the wilds all this time, avoiding the aliens. Now we can re-enter society. That's not the skirmishers, that's the reapers. The skirmishers, which are actually like traitor alien human hybrids that turned against the humans, they're like, okay, we're going to kind of build up a bit of our own society because we're going to go out and collect all the other Advent soldiers that are half human, half alien. We're going to collect them and try to get them to rejoin humanity since they've been fighting for the aliens all this time, mostly against their will. So they're kind of creating their own society. And then the Templars, which I'm really disappointed that the expansion pack doesn't explain the Templars nearly as well as they do the skirmishers and the reapers. The Templars kind of got shafted. It seems like they should have been way more important than they are, or at least have had more points of interest throughout the game that you really don't ever get. But their final cutscene is that, like, reveals that they knew something, right? They knew something that we didn't. They knew something that the elders did know. So throughout the game, it's kind of hinted at, and especially in the last mission, the elders are hinting at you that there's something worse than us out there, and you can't take us down. This is for your own good. You don't like us, but we're doing this for your own good. It's hinted at. And I'm going to say that. I hope you don't think that's too much of a spoiler, because I'm not going to tell you anything else about it. I'm just going to tell you that the elders are kind of hinting at that what they're doing is because they think it's necessary. What they've done to humanity, the massive harvesting of human bodies to turn them into genetic jelly for experimentation, which is this huge genocide, basically. They've been committing acts of genocide on the human race, as well as other alien species across the galaxy. The elders aren't good people, but they've been hinting at throughout the game that they've been doing it for what they think is the greater good. Now, you can... They might be right, they might be wrong. You can decide that yourself. There's not a lot of information out there. But now that we've defeated the elders in the final Templar cutscene, you get a glimpse of what that might have been, what the elders were talking about. And I'm not going to say much more than that, because I don't know. I don't actually know much more than that. I'm just going to leave that to you to play the game and get whatever information out of it you want yourself. I don't want to spoil that. I look forward to seeing XCOM 3 come out whenever it comes out, because the way they end 2, there really ought to be a third one. I have no idea how it will play, though, because I really like the way XCOM 2 picks up the torch from the first game in terms of power scaling. XCOM 2 doesn't take place after you winning XCOM 1. Because by the time you win XCOM 1, you've unlocked a ton of technology, a ton of power-ups, a ton of abilities, etc. That would have been really hard to follow up in a sequel. But because the sequel doesn't take place after you beating the first game, it takes place after you losing the first game, you kind of have that awesome reset on technology, abilities, soldiers, etc. You have that sort of reset. I don't know how they're going to do that with XCOM 3, canonically. I don't know if they even... I don't know. I haven't heard anything about XCOM 3 coming out, or if there's a plan for that or not. And then, a while ago, they came out with Chimera Squad, which was a spin-off game that had nothing to do with the XCOM, like, core faction, more like this sort of police task force helping maintain order on the planet, not necessarily fighting aliens. So, I don't know what their plans are, but it's hinted at that there's maybe a growing danger to see in a third game. It's very exciting, and I enjoyed it a lot. Now that I have beaten this second game, my questions that I had about Chimera Squad aren't necessarily answered. It's kind of funny how Chimera Squad, if you play that spin-off game, doesn't really pick up from the story of XCOM 2 in any way whatsoever. So you can easily play Chimera Squad without knowing anything about the other two games, and you're fine. You're really not missing much. There's only some world building and lore that if you had questions about how you got to where you are in Chimera Squad, that's kind of answered in XCOM 2. But only, like, vaguely. I mean, you could have pieced it together without having played XCOM 2. But in terms of world building, it's pretty cool stuff. Yeah. So, I finally beat it, guys! It's been 5 years, and I finally beat XCOM 2. I still recommend it. I don't know what I would give it. 4 out of 5 stars. 5 out of 5 stars. I don't know what I would give it. It still plays really cool. Rangers are overpowered. Everyone says the Reapers are overpowered. The Reaper faction is overpowered. I really love Rangers. If you get a Ranger to Colonel level and you get the Reaper ability, which is not to be confused with the Reaper faction, the Reaper ability that allows you to go around and just slash people with swords, just attack after attack after attack. It's so good. Rangers are great. In the first game, sharpshooters were crazy overpowered. I put at least 2 snipers in all my teams, and they would just wreck the enemy from across the map all the time. In the second game, Rangers are so dope. I love them. I had a lot of fun playing it. Tactics-based strategy game. If that sounds like something that's right up your alley, recommend XCOM 2. But I'm looking forward to now that I've beat it, to look forward to the future. I am now looking forward to playing some other tactics-based strategy games. I really love the genre, and I want to play more games in that genre. And so to move forward, the next game that I'm playing in that genre is this game called Phantom Doctrine, which takes place in like the 70s or 80s or something like that. I'm currently playing through as the British faction. So you play as like a secret agent offshoot at MI6 or something. And it's taking place during like, is it the Cold War? I'm a little unfamiliar, but it's like think like around the times of spies and MK Ultra and brainwashing and like secret phrases to change people's sides, and think of like that era of spy story. And it's really fun so far. I've played a bit of it already, and I'll tell you more about it in a different episode because I'm quite out of time. Excuse me, that sounded awful. I'm quite out of time for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to give me a follow or subscribe depending on where you're watching or listening to this. If you're watching over on YouTube, give it a subscribe. If you're listening to this anywhere else, give it a follow. Let me know what you thought about today's podcast or any of my other podcasts, or if you have any questions or comments about the podcast in general, hit me up on Twitter. You can use the hashtag Hasty Podcast, and I will answer your questions, read your comments, etc. in future episodes. Follow me on Instagram as well, I guess. Links and stuff are in the description box of wherever you're watching or listening to this. But whatever you guys want to do, I thank you all so much for listening. And if you would like to... There's one more thing. I need to get an outro, like, actually figured out for this podcast. But if you would like to support the podcast financially, help me become a full-time artist and creator, Patreon.com/Weston Hasty is the place to do it. You can support me for as little as $1 a month. My ultimate goal is, between doing this podcast and my other YouTube projects, to one day be able to do creative things full time and bring content to everybody to listen to or watch and enjoy and that kind of thing. I just really love doing it, and I hope to get there one day. And you can help me on that journey monetarily through Patreon. But if you want to help me for free, just spreading the word and telling people about the podcast really goes a long way. Thank you all so much for listening. Until next time, take care of yourselves and wash your hands. I'm out of here. Bye.